Welcome to Words on Water, a podcast from the Water Environment Federation. I'm the host, Travis Loop. This episode is part of a series from WEF looking at diversity and the water sector. For these episodes, I am happy to be joined by a co-host who is my colleague at WEF.
Hello, I'm Rahkia, Nance, and will be co-hosting this series. Initially, these episodes will focus on social justice and equity issues for Black Americans as they pertain to the water sector. Then later on, we'll explore other issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We will talk to a variety of people from across water, different occupations, different points in their careers, different ages, different places.
Our goal is to have open, candid conversations, and we hope that this dialogue can help raise awareness about problems, solutions, and enable us to move forward together and build equity. For this episode, we're talking about WEF's InFLOW program, and this program aims to enhance diversity and inclusion in the water workforce by engaging InFLOW scholars in WEF's programs and events. The scholars can follow one of two tracks. The first track is called STEM Path, which is for students from historically underrepresented racial and ethnic groups who are in undergraduate or graduate degree programs. The second path is called Career Tech, and with that, WEF partners with community-based organizations to expose people in job readiness programs to the variety of career possibilities in water quality.
For this episode, we are joined by three people who have participated in InFLOW. Very excited to welcome them here. We have Kayson Smith-Bejgrowicz. And Kayson, thanks so much for coming on. Could you introduce yourself? Let us know where you are and what you're doing.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me, Travis and Rahkia. Thank you very much. My name is Kayson Smith-Bejgrowicz. I live on the island of Oahu in Hawaii, and I am currently working with Corolla Engineers as a staff professional.
Fantastic. We also have Moriah Brown. Moriah, thanks for coming on. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. My name is Moriah Brown, and I am a civil engineering major at Howard University.
Fantastic. And third person we have is Nadine Robertson. Nadine, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. My name is Nadine Robertson. I'm a wastewater treatment operator for Veolia North America, located in New Orleans, Louisiana.
All right, we have some great geographic diversity here too. Great, well, we're looking forward to this conversation. I think Rahkia has the first question for you all.
I do, and I'm very excited about this because as you know, InFLOW is designed to expose people to water sector careers. So I'm curious, what did you know about water sector careers prior to the InFLOW program? Kayson, I'll throw that question out to you first.
Okay. I'm going to be honest with you, Rahkia. I had almost no idea with what water sector program or, careers were out there. I was a junior in college attending the University of Hawaii, and I was slowly we have a general civil engineering path, and I was slowly kind of sifting my way through each branch of engineering, and water was the one that I didn't really get to yet. So InFLOW really opened that up and introduced all of the water sector careers that I know today.
Great. How about you, Moriah? You participated in this most recent cohort of InFLOW. What did you know about water sector careers before that?
So I knew very little. I mostly only knew you could probably work at a wastewater treatment plant as an engineer designing the plant or as an operator. But I didn't know how broad the sector was and how much more you could actually do.
Okay. And Nadine, how about you? How would you describe your familiarity with water sector careers?
I definitely knew about the operator side of the wastewater treatment plant, but WEF in the program with InFLOW definitely opened my eyes as far as engineering and all the different trades like electrical and, people that deal with the SCADA system and other different jobs that are within the wastewater treatment plant. It's a lot of moving parts. So it definitely opened my eyes to that.
Great.
I'm curious about why each of you decided to participate in InFLOW. Maybe since Nadine, we'll start with you. Why did you decide to go through this program?
I'm definitely an advocate for diversity and inclusion and equity, so I definitely love that component of the program. I was willing to join the program to network with other people because there's not a lot of African American and women that's within the industry. So I definitely wanted to connect with other minorities that were interested in the field and just to get my feet wet besides operations, just to see what other different opportunities were out there within water, different companies. Like I said, different engineering, there's electrical, there's pipe fitters. It's a lot of different career fields that's within the wastewater treatment plant, and it's an essential resource. Prior to InFLOW, I don't think I really looked at it that way, but water is essential. It's the most essential resource on the planet, and it definitely opened my eyes to that.
Well, that's great to hear. Moriah, what about you? Why did you decide to be part of InFLOW?
So I actually was recommended to apply to the program from my research lab PI. So she is a professor at Howard University, Dr. Jesus Delgado, and she really just encouraged me to apply, and so I did. And after applying, I kind of looked up the program, what it was more, to get more information about what it actually was, and I'm glad I got accepted in because I really did enjoy it, and it just helped me open up my eyes to what is out there and what I can do after I graduate.
And Kayson, you mentioned that you really didn't know much about water sector careers. So why did you decide then to take the plunge into InFLOW?
So kind of like Moriah, I was emailed by a professor who was talking about an opportunity to attend a program that represented underprivileged or, minorities in the water field. And it was over in Chicago at the biggest water conference in the nation. And it just sounded like a why not kind of moment, right? And me and 3 of the classmates decided to take the leap and send our applications in, and he had accepted us and pulled us through, and we were so thankful for the opportunity. And it was really, from being an island boy who has never traveled across the nation that far, just a crazy experience. So that's really, it was just my leap of faith. Like, we just need to go and try it out, go in with an open mind and be able to be represented from all the way over here. And, just being little islands out here, being able to go to the continent and also share our representation as well was important to me.
Kayson, you mentioned a very important word that's actually part of the next question, that's representation. And as of late, there's been a lot of conversations about increasing representation of diverse groups in a range of professions, including the water sector. Prior to InFLOW, how did you see yourself represented in the professions that you were considering? So
in the professions that I was considering, over here in the islands, we have more of a mixed plate, as I'm sure Travis knows. So the places that I've worked at and, the people that I've seen have been a little more diverse, but I really didn't get to see I wouldn't say imbalance, but just the way that people of color or minorities are underrepresented in the mainland. So it really did open my eyes to that when I did get to go to the InFLOW program.
Okay. And Nadine kind of touched on this earlier, that there aren't Black women in the water sector. So once you were taking part in the InFLOW program, before you took part in the InFLOW program, how did you see yourself represented?
Specifically within water or the other fields that I was considering outside of water?
Well, why don't you talk about both a little bit?
Okay. Other than water, I was considering industrial manufacturing within oil and gas and refinery plants. I feel like I see the same similarities. There's definitely not a lot of women. It's definitely not a lot of African American or women of color. And if there were, it was more on the administrative side, finance, and maybe engineering here and there, but not operators. And most people of color within that industry were like trade helpers, or like I said, pipe fitters, that type of area. So a little bit of overlap. I just think within a chemical refinery type plant, the go-to job as far as plateau was operations. So, but I think within water, beyond operations, engineering, and there's so many different plateaus and plethora of, opportunities within the water industry. It doesn't force you to settle within operations, I should say that. So I love that, diversity within, you can juggle. Maybe I want to switch from operations and go into engineering, or, and it's good to, like with myself, I'm taking some classes for electrical. So, I mean, that's important with working with the SCADA systems, because you have to monitor flow and different temperatures and things like that, and the process that's involved with treating our water. So it's definitely some overlap.
Okay. All right. And Moriah, you're still considering maybe several types of career paths. How are you seeing yourself represented in the professions that you're considering?
Well, the reason why I chose to major in civil engineering was because, first of all, because of my dad, he is also a civil engineer. And second of all, is because I saw more women who were civil engineers than any other engineering profession. And then coming to InFLOW with seeing the panelists, starting to see that there are even more women in the water sector. So I'm starting to kind of, be more encouraged to go into this field because of that, seeing that I would be welcomed and there's already a lot of representation for women and Black women specifically.
Well, that's you scooped me on my next question, is what it was like being in InFLOW and getting to actually see people kind of from your background and like you in a variety of positions, and high level positions or engineering positions or being operators and everything. So maybe we can turn to Kayson, and what was it like being then in InFLOW and seeing a diversity of people at high levels in the water sector, and coming to you guys as students and encouraging you and telling you can do this, you can come into this field.
Absolutely. If I could describe it in one word, it would just be hopeful or reassuring, because especially to see so much, just like Moriah said, women and people of color in these high positions, just reminded me that, no matter how hard you work, or no matter where you come from, no matter what you've done in your past, if you continue to work hard at something, you can really get wherever you want to go. The sky is really the limit. And names that come to my mind were Carla Reed, Ifateo Venner, people like that. We got to hear them speak, and even I got to trade pins. I'm sorry if I'm saying her name wrong, with Ifateo. Ifateo, yeah. She is the sweetest soul, and knowing that she was from Barbados, an island just like ours, was even more of a connection. And it was really just hopeful seeing a room full of people of color or minorities cheering each other on, and just letting the future know you guys can do it, and you guys really are they laid the road for us, and now it's our turn to go down and lay the road for the next generation after us. So
yeah,
thank you.
And Nadine, I think you've touched on it a few times, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about what it was like for you to come into the InFLOW program and to see all the, a bunch of very successful women, successful people of color that were encouraging you on.
Yeah, definitely. Just to piggyback, Ifateo, yeah, definitely a great person to know. I think at first I was a little bit overwhelmed because, like, going to WEFTEC, you're looking at all of these exhibitions with these manufacturing equipment, and going to these technical trade shows and different panels. But Ifateo made me feel comfortable. She welcomed me. I mean, everyone pretty much embraced me pretty well off the bat. It made me feel comfortable and, you know, allowed me to open up. So I definitely felt like a part of the family immediately. But definitely networking with Ifatayo and listening to other panelists, meeting Drew Learman through Limitless Vista and everything like that was definitely a great opportunity. It's definitely.
So I want to kind of pass the mic to Moriah, since you're still, you know, navigating your career choices. How did your InFLOW experience change your career outlook in any way? Or did it change your career outlook? And what were your biggest takeaways from your experience?
So coming into this program, the InFLOW program, I really am focused on getting a PhD. So really, to get out of this, I was wondering, what is there for me to do after that PhD in the water sector, besides going into education, becoming a professor. Because that wasn't always my first choice. I wanted to see what else is out there. Seeing panelists who do have their PhDs, who do have high positions working at wastewater treatment plants, or even doing just research at wastewater treatment plants also was something that interested me and inspired me to keep going towards this field, knowing that there is a spot for me after I do get the PhD, that there's so much I can do with it.
That's great. That's great. And Kayson, how big of a role did InFLOW play in your ultimate career decision?
InFLOW was the deciding factor on my career. And
Wow.
that's where I met my future boss at the career fair. It was just like a stroke of luck, a stroke of genius, I would say. That she was there trying to open up office in Honolulu. She was in Chicago, and she said, "Hey, you know, I could pick you up, and we could, you know, help start the first office. You could be our first local." You know, engineer in the office. And it was a moment of like euphoria and just, it was all meant to be. That was the reason why I was picked up to go. You know what I mean? It was like a sign. And that was just the best thing to top off the whole experience. And I just loved it so much.
Such a great story. Everything when it comes full circle.
Yeah, that's awesome. A little just last question, I think, for Nadine. I guess I'd ask what your advice would be to students that might be considering, you know, going into the InFLOW program, you know, in future years.
Definitely do it. I got a lot of those questions with the past this year's participants, helping develop the program with Bree and Steve and, you know, those guys, and they were hesitant at first, but it's worth it. I mean, the opportunities for different career paths are endless. Water is an essential, you know, resource, so you don't have to worry about shutdown like with this COVID situation. You know, it's job stability. Water's everywhere, so you could, you know, transition to a different state or city and find a job wherever you go, whether it's municipality or private sector. Go for it, and you know, it's a high paying job, and it's going to be around forever until we come up with some other kind of resource. But for now, water is essential. So I mean, it's out there. I mean, the more work you put into it, and you know, that's the most you're going to get out of it. And I'm so grateful for WEF and this program, because it definitely has opened up doors for me to consider engineering, consulting, even. And learning additional trades that would be helpful for operations. My job in operations, dealing with electronics and all these SCADA systems and stuff like that, the meters and VFDs and stuff like that. So it's definitely been great for my career path.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so much. You know, you put a smile on my face with this discussion. I'm really happy to hear the impact that InFLOW's had and the upward trajectory that all of you are on with water careers. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.